This video may be played by scanning a QR code or by clicking on a link in a text message. Bucked Off: What Just Happened by Marlo E. Schult. One summer morning when I was about 14 years old, my niece Diane and I decided to go on a picnic. We thought it would be really fun to ride the horse out somewhere in the country and find a place and eat our lunch. So we packed a lunch into a tin lunch pail or lunch box. Inside of the lunch box, we placed sandwiches and some little bags of potato chips and a thermos that went into the lid of the lunch box that you could put in punch or juice or whatever you wanted to drink. So after packing the lunch box, you would close it by using the two clamps on each side that would hold it shut, and then it had a handle on top. We decided that would be the perfect way to take our lunch with us, so we tied one lunch box on each side of the saddle. We then rode double on Lady, which was Diane's pinto horse. I had to get on the horse first, and Diane would get on behind me and put her arms around my stomach so she could hang on, and then we would ride the horse. I need to tell you a little bit about Lady. As I said, she was a pinto, which meant she was a multicolored white and black horse, as I recall. Lady was kind of a lazy horse. She was very hard to get out of a trot and into a run or lope. When you're loping on a horse, it's kind of like riding in a slow rocking chair, where you kind of move back and forth in unison with the horse, and it's quite pleasant and fun to do. A trot is terrible. The horse takes little tiny steps, and it kind of beats you to death as it walks very quickly and jogs you up and down. And that's the thing that Lady liked to do, and was very hard to get her to do anything else. Now, Lady was really stubborn. She would not lope, and it was really hard to get her to do that. She liked to trot, and that is just make really short hops and just about beat you to death if you were riding the horse. It's not fun at all. So Lady wasn't that fun to ride if you couldn't get her out of her trot. So we got Lady all saddled up and ready to go. I got on first, and Diane got behind me, and then we started our ride right in front of Diane's house. So the plan was to ride about a block, cross the highway, and then start out into a vacant field. So we were now both on the horse, lunch pails strapped on each side, and started to walk down the street. I hadn't noticed that she had laid both of her ears flat against her neck. That's typically not a good sign and means that the horse is really upset and mad. So I missed that warning sign that Lady was not happy. I had to really hold back on the reins hard, because Lady wanted to run, and I thought that was really odd, because you really had to prod her to get her out of her trot. Unfortunately, we hadn't got the saddle on very tight. Apparently, we didn't cinch her up, because you have to know to pat the horse on its belly when you are cinching up the rope that holds the saddle on, or the horse will hold its breath. And when you get done putting on the saddle, it will be loose, and the saddle was loose. Lady started to buck really hard, and that saddle was rotating from the left side to the right side and back and forth. I didn't even know if I could stay on with a saddle that was that loose and moving so much from side to side. It wasn't long after the bucking started that out of the corner of my right eye I could see Diane fly up into the air about 10 feet and go off the horse. She got bucked off. So then it was just me and the horse, and boy, was Lady snorting and bucking with her head down, and I couldn't stop her. Now at this point in the bucking, you have to visualize that I'm going from side to side on the saddle, probably with both hands clenched firm on the saddle horn, just trying to stay on. The next thing I knew, I went flying up into the air, just as my niece had done, and saw a hoof come back from her hind leg that was about an inch from my face, so I almost got kicked in the face. So after I went flying through the air, I lit on my rear on the ground. It was really fortunate because I lit in a patch of broken glass. So fortunately for me, my rear hit the dirt and it didn't hit any of that broken glass that was sticking up in the air. As I was sitting there on the ground and wondering what the heck had just happened to me, I saw Lady out running with the saddle underneath her belly. It had rotated all the way around and was underneath her. Fortunately, I was able to catch her and stop her before she completely destroyed the saddle. So I guess my niece and I had our very own little bucking horse rodeo that day. When my sister found out that we had both been bucked off the horse, she said, "You need to go back and get on that horse." I thought, "Why, so I can get bucked off again?" She said if we didn't get back on the horse, we would be too afraid to ever ride the horse again. So we got back on and rode the horse. It wasn't too long after that that I had my very own horse named Jack, and that's another story. So what did I learn from getting bucked off? Strapping noisy lunch boxes to your horse's saddle will get you bucked off. That's what they do in rodeos with cowbells to make horses buck. You have to get back on. Don't give up. Learn from your mistakes. You don't have to learn the hard way. Learn from the mistakes of others. Read the scriptures. They teach vicarious learning by telling you what you should do and not do. I don't like to admit this, but I seldom ever do anything right the first time. Sometimes it takes a few more tries and practice before you get it right. A very successful person once said, "The reason I'm successful and you are not is because I've made more mistakes than you have."